63 pence per milliliter. That's what you're paying when you pick up the Giorgio Armani Passione Eclat De Parfum Eau de Parfum 30 ml spray at £58. Now, for a Giorgio Armani flanker, that's not outrageous on paper. But here's the thing, the Sigh line has been churning out bottle after bottle for years, and at some point you have to ask, is this one actually different, or is Armani just repackaging the same feminine fantasy with a slightly shinier name? I've worn this for 2 full weeks before filming this. On skin, on clothes, in the cold, in the warmth. And I've got a verdict that might genuinely surprise you, especially when we get to the dry down. Stick around for that, because that's where this fragrance either earns its place on your shelf or exposes itself as an expensive imitation of itself. Giorgio Armani in the fragrance world is a house that operates on 2 speeds. There's the commercial, accessible side, the aqua digos, the size, and then there's the more considered, couture-adjacent work they do with Armani Prive. The Sigh franchise sits firmly in that first camp, launched originally back in 2013 and built around a very specific feminine ideal. Warm, sophisticated, sensual but never aggressive. Blackcurrant, rose, vanilla, musk, these are the Sigh DNA. What Armani does well, better than almost anyone in the designer space, is make that kind of femininity feel genuinely luxurious rather than cheap or synthetic. They've got the budget, the perfumers, and the brand equity to pull it off. The Eclat de Parfum twist on Sigh Passion suggests they're trying to push the concentration and brightness simultaneously. Eclat, brilliance, sparkle, luminosity. That word matters. It tells you where they were aiming. Whether they landed there is a different conversation. Let me talk about this bottle because honestly, it's one of Armani's better efforts in the Sigh line. The flacon is that signature squared silhouette, rounded at the edges, weighted in the hand. It's got a red and rose gold color palette that leans into the Passion name without screaming at you. It's bold without being garish. The cap clicks on with a satisfying solidity. Nothing rattles, nothing feels hollow. The spray mechanism is refined, you get a fine mist, not a blast, which matters because this is a fragrance you want to layer precisely, not drown yourself in. The 30 ml size is compact enough to sit on a dressing table without dominating it, and honestly it's travel-friendly in a way the full 100 ml flankers never quite are. Does it look luxury? Yes, genuinely. Does it look like something you'd be proud to have sitting out? Absolutely. Armani rarely gets the bottle wrong, and they haven't here. Right. The opening. The first spray of the Giorgio Armani Sigh Passion Eclat De Parfum Eau de Parfum 30 ml spray is immediately interesting. There's a brightness to it, fruity, slightly sparkling, like crushed berries lifted with something almost effervescent. If you know the Sigh Passion line, you'll recognize the DNA immediately. There's that warm, slightly jammy quality, but the Eclat interpretation does something different in those first seconds. It's cleaner. Crisper. There's a luminosity to the opening that the original Sigh Passion doesn't quite have. The projection out of the bottle is confident without being overpowering. You spray it, and within about 30 seconds it announces itself to the room, not aggressively, but with intention. It's feminine, bright, and immediately wearable. No harsh chemical opening, no synthetic shriek. It just arrives, settled and purposeful. Good start. This is where Eclat de Parfum really starts to define itself against its siblings. As the top notes settle, we're talking the 15 to 45 minute window, there's a floral warmth that emerges. Rose is in here, clearly. But it's not a cold, dewy rose. It's warm, slightly velvety, underpinned by what feels like a soft patchouli working quietly in the background. The passion heritage is visible here, this is a heart that's romantic, intimate, built for closeness rather than distance. What surprised me, genuinely surprised me, is how the Eclat framing keeps this from going too heavy. In the original Sigh Passion, the heart can lean quite rich and dense. Here there's an airiness, a sparkle that keeps the whole thing feeling light on its feet despite having real depth underneath. It's like taking a luxurious fabric and holding it up to the light, you see both the weight of it and the way it catches the brightness. That's a difficult balance to strike and they've largely got it right. Now, This is the part 1 told you to stick around for. The dry down on the Giorgio Armani Sai Passion Eclat de Parfum. After 3 to 4 hours on skin, what you're left with is a warm, softly musky, almost skin-like base. Vanilla is in there, but restrained, not gourmand, not sweet in a cloying way. It's more like the warmth of skin after a long day than a dessert. And here's the thing that genuinely impressed me, the eclat quality doesn't fully disappear in the dry down the way I expected it to. There's still a subtle brightness sitting above that musk and vanilla, like a very faint shimmer on what could have been a flat, generic base. That's the craft showing through. That's the difference between a well-constructed fragrance and a flanker that phones it in. The dry down doesn't disappoint. In fact, I'd argue it's the best part of wearing this, that intimate, close-to-skin warmth with just enough personality to keep it interesting. Let's be honest about the numbers here because this matters at £58. On skin, I'm getting around 6 to 7 hours of genuine wear before it becomes a pure skin scent. That's solid for an Eau de Parfum in the designer space. On clothes, and I always recommend testing on clothes as well, it extends considerably. I got traces on a jumper 16 hours later. The sillage is what I'd call intimate to moderate. This is not a room filler. You're not going to walk into a meeting and have people turning their heads from across the table. The projection is personal, it operates in a bubble of about an arm's length around you. In a way, that's by design. This is a fragrance built for closeness. For someone leaning in, noticing it, being drawn to it. In that context, the sillage is entirely appropriate. If you want a statement fragrance that announces you before you've entered the building, this isn't it. If you want something that rewards the people closest to you, it absolutely delivers. Let me paint you a few pictures. If you're the type who considers fragrance a private luxury, something you wear for yourself and for the people you let close, this was made for you. You appreciate quality without needing validation from across the room. You dress well but not for show. You're the person who has one good candle, one good wine, one good fragrance at a time. This suits you perfectly. Alternatively, if you're someone who loves the Sai franchise but has always found the original Sai Passion just a touch too heavy for daytime wear, Eclat de Parfum solves that problem elegantly. It gives you that warmth and romance with enough brightness to make it viable from morning onward. Evening into night is where it peaks, but it's genuinely versatile enough for daytime. Now, who should not wear this? If you live for big, projecting, beast mode fragrances that make people stop in corridors, walk away. This will frustrate you. If you have zero patience for the Sai aesthetic, fruity, floral, warm, classically feminine, this isn't going to convert you. And if you're buying purely for performance per penny, there are better value options out there. This is a fragrance for people who connect emotionally with what they're wearing, not just analytically. £58 for 30 millilitres. That's just under £2 per milliliter. Sorry, let me redo that. 58 divided by 30, you're at approximately £1.93 per milliliter. In the designer Eau de Parfum space, that's actually on the higher end for this size. You do get premium packaging, a well-built fragrance, and the Armani name. But let's be clear, you are paying partly for that name. The liquid itself is quality, but it isn't doing anything technically groundbreaking. If you want something that scratches a similar itch for less, look at the original Sai Passion in a larger bottle. The cost per ml drops significantly and the DNA is closely related. That said, the Eclat interpretation does offer something the original doesn't, so if that brightness matters to you, the premium is justifiable. You can pick up the Giorgio Armani Sai Passion Eclat de Parfum Eau de Parfum 30 ml spray directly from P11, that's p-11.com, and the link is in the description below. They're a solid UK stockist, good pricing, and I've had no issues with authenticity or delivery. My score for this fragrance, 7.5 out of 10. It loses marks for sillage if you're a performance chaser, and the price per ml is slightly steep for the size. But it gains points for genuine quality in the heart and base, excellent longevity for the concentration, a beautiful bottle, and real versatility. A well-made, emotionally intelligent fragrance. The Giorgio Armani Sai Passion Eclat de Parfum is not a revolution, it's a refinement, and sometimes that's exactly what a fragrance needs to be. It takes something familiar and makes it genuinely better in the moments that matter most, the dry down, the intimacy, the lasting warmth. Here's my question for you: if you own this or any Sigh flanker, I want to know, did the dry down justify the price tag for you, or did you find something in the Sigh family that does it better for less? Drop that in the comments, I read every single one. And if honest, no-nonsense fragrance reviews are what you're after, subscribe. I post every week and I never just tell you what you want to hear.